Good evening, and welcome to a special report that could define our future. On June 21, 2025, the United States launched a historic airstrike, obliterating three of Iran's key nuclear facilities: Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. B-2 stealth bombers dropped massive bunker busters, and submarines unleashed Tomahawk missiles, grinding Iran's nuclear ambitions to a halt. President Donald Trump calls it a spectacular success to secure peace through strength. But Iran vows fiery retaliation. Sirens blare across the Gulf, and the world braces for what could be a catastrophic escalation. Tonight, we dive deep into what happened, why it matters, and what's next. Stay with us. This is history unfolding. Let's break it down. At approximately 2 a.m. on June 22, 2025, 6 U.S. Air Force B-2A Spirit stealth bombers, armed with 30,000-pound massive ordnance penetrator bombs, struck Iran's deeply buried Fordo enrichment facility, located 60 miles southwest of Tehran. These bunker busters are designed to penetrate up to 200 feet of earth or concrete, making them the only weapons capable of destroying Fordo's mountain fortress. Simultaneously, U.S. submarines in the Persian Gulf launched 30 Tomahawk cruise missiles targeting Natanz, Iran's largest uranium enrichment site, and Esfahan, a critical nuclear research hub. The strikes followed weeks of Israeli attacks on Iran, which began on June 13th, targeting Tehran's air defenses and nuclear infrastructure. President Trump announced the operation on social media at 7:53 p.m., declaring Iran's nuclear program completely and totally obliterated. Why now? The U.S. intervention marks a dramatic escalation in the Israel-Iran conflict, which intensified after Israel's surprise attack on June 13th, aimed at preventing Iran from developing nuclear weapons. Iran, enriching uranium to 60% purity, close to the 90% needed for weapons-grade material, has long been seen as a threat by Israel and the U.S. Trump, who pulled out of the 2015 Iran nuclear deal in 2018, argued diplomacy had failed, and only the U.S. had the firepower to neutralize Fordo. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who met with his cabinet during the strikes, praised Trump's bold decision, calling it a historic blow to Iran's nuclear ambitions. Iran's response has been fierce. The Atomic Energy Organization of Iran confirmed the attacks on Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan, but claimed no radioactive contamination, a finding backed by the International Atomic Energy Agency. Iran's Foreign Minister, Abbas Araghchi, called the strikes outrageous, warning of everlasting consequences. A senior advisor to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei urged missile strikes on U.S. Navy ships and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, through which 30% of the world's oil flows. Hours after the U.S. attack, Iran fired 20 to 30 ballistic missiles at Israel, hitting a residential area in Tel Aviv. The Pentagon is now bracing for further retaliation, with U.S. bases in the region on high alert. Let's fact-check the major claims. First, Trump's assertion that Iran's nuclear facilities were completely obliterated. Satellite imagery from Maxar and Planet Labs shows significant damage at Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan, with craters and destroyed buildings. However, Iran claims it evacuated key equipment and personnel from Fordo days before, and some analysts suggest the underground facilities may still be partially operational. Second, Iran's claim of no contamination is supported by the IAEA and Saudi Arabia's nuclear authority, countering fears of a radiological disaster. Third, social media rumors about a pizza order surge near the Pentagon predicting the strike. Unsubstantiated. No evidence links pizza orders to military planning. Stick to verified sources, folks. The economic fallout is immediate. Oil prices jumped 15% within hours, as fears of a Strait of Hormuz closure loom. This choke point is critical for global energy markets, and any disruption could trigger a worldwide recession. Gulf states, including Saudi Arabia, have heightened security, while U.S. warships reposition in the region. Iran-aligned Houthi forces in Yemen have also threatened attacks on U.S. assets, raising the specter of a multi-front conflict. What does this mean for the world? The U.S. strikes have reshaped the Middle East's geopolitical landscape. Israel, which sees Iran as an existential threat, gains a strategic victory, but at the cost of heightened regional tension. Russia and Cuba condemned the attacks, accusing the U.S. of violating international law, while European diplomats are pushing for renewed nuclear talks with Iran. Critics like U.S. Representative Jim Himes argue Trump's unilateral action bypassed Congress, violating constitutional war powers. Supporters, including Vice President J.D. Vance, say the strikes were necessary to prevent a nuclear-armed Iran. The risk now is escalation. Could Iran's retaliation draw in Russia, China, or other powers? The global chessboard is stirring. The United Nations has called an emergency session, but diplomacy faces steep odds. Iran's parliament is debating withdrawing from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, a move that could accelerate its nuclear program. Meanwhile, Israeli air defenses are on high alert after Iran's missile barrage, and civilian casualties in both nations are rising. The human toll is undeniable. Reports of over 200 civilian deaths from Israel's earlier strikes, and now fears of more in Iran's counterattacks. This isn't just a military clash, it's a humanitarian crisis in the making. We're at a crossroads. Will these strikes force Iran to the negotiating table or ignite a regional war? The answers will shape our world for decades. That's why you need to stay informed. Smash that like button, share this video, and subscribe for live updates. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think happens next? We're here to keep you ahead of the curve every step of the way. This is a story that's far from over. Keep your eyes here because the world is watching. Good night and stay vigilant.